Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Navigant Credit Union Broadcast Center. I'm GoLocal News Editor Kate Nagel. Thanks for joining us again this Tuesday afternoon as I welcome in my next guest, Representative-elect Jack Lyle. Thank you for coming in today.
Thank you, Kate. It's great to be here.
I appreciate it. And you're going to be back on Smith Hill after having had a tenure up there, a little respite, and then getting back into the swing of things. Before we get into why we have you here, talk with us and tell viewers a little bit about your decision to say, I really need to get back in there for this reason.
Well, I left the Senate 24 years ago, and I thought at the time that I would just move aside, become an elder statesman, nobody would listen to me, and I would just go on and live my life happily. And last summer, early last summer, I was getting my hair cut, and my hairstylist said, Jack, why don't you run for Jay O'Grady's seat? And I said, I'm not running against Jay. And he said, he's not running again. Didn't you read the Valley Breeze? I said, no, I hadn't.
Did a little light bulb go on at that point?
Well, I'm kind of like an old war horse. And, you know, the bell rang, and I said, oh, I got to get out of the stable and go see what's going on. So I made the decision after talking with a lot of people around town and in the state, and just made the decision that it was time to get back into the game.
And so one of your first orders of business, we did receive the release from the House Minority Office, 38 studios looking to call on AG-elect Peter Nerona to appoint an independent commission to look into exactly what happened. Now, we saw what happened, what came out of the state police investigation and what didn't come out of the state police investigation. How much was 38 studios still a talking point when you talked with folks who were constituents saying, you know, maybe we didn't really get the answers that we had hoped to get?
Well, during the course of the summer and early fall, all I heard about was we're losing the Paw Sox. My district includes just a little smudge of Pawtucket and a good portion of Lincoln, and a lot of people love the Paw Sox. And because of the stench of 38 studios, we know what happened to the Paw Sox. And they just kept asking me, Jack, what are we going to do about it? When are we going to find answers the answers to the questions as to really what happened there? So I just decided that it was time, with a new Attorney General coming into office, to put the ball into his court and ask him to investigate this whole mess. Again, Peter Kilmartin did a great job as a representative and as a member of the leadership in the House during his tenure, but he didn't do such a good job once he became Attorney General following up on this matter.
And you talk about the Paw Sox, and this has been brought up so much, in that to move the state forward with deals, you know, with anything that you say, that 38 studio specter still hangs over everything, whether it's on Smith Hill or for the average voter. You know, do you think, you know, what would happen? The need for an independent commission to be looking. I mean, do we really need to bring outside folks in? Because let's remember, the governor said she was going to call for an independent one. That never happened. You know, do you think the average Rhode Islander is satisfied with what they know so far from what they've seen from the state police investigation?
Based on what I heard over 20 weeks of knocking on doors, people are not happy. They really still want the answers as to what's going on. And now with the concern about what's going to happen with Hasbro, I think puts this into an even stronger light. We need to focus on the things that are part of the climate of Rhode Island to try so that we can bring about change. As a classroom teacher, I used to, the best U.S. history teacher that ever lived, I always use the Santayana quote, "Those who fail to remember the past are condemned to repeat it." We don't want to repeat history again. No. We want to forget some of this, I know, but we don't want to repeat these kinds of fiascos. So that the state can develop the type of economic climate that we need, so that we can guarantee that our citizens are working and are living happy and productive lives.
And do you think that you'll get any sort of a pushback by folks who say, well, we've had the state police investigation, we don't need an independent one? But as you said, you talk with Rhode Islanders day in, day out. Is that the feeling of the average Rhode Islander?
The job that I took on, or am taking on again, is to be a representative, is to represent the voice and the concerns of our citizens, and that's what I'm doing with this request.
So that was, again, the first release coming out of the House Minority Office. January 1st, you'll be up there with the rest of the representatives and representatives-elect for the new session. What would you say, you know, is really high on your agenda heading back up to Smith Hill with the representative hat on this time?
Well, as again, a former teacher and educator, and principal and superintendent of schools, I am very, very concerned about the recently released test results. We've got to do a better job of making certain our kids are prepared for the working world. And obviously we're not doing that. Our kids should be prepared not just to go to college, but also to enter the workforce. So we need to make certain that they have the skills necessary to do that. So that's going to be one of my primary focuses. I also made a commitment early on to talk about and try to help DCYF improve its service and programs to families throughout the state. You know, there are so many kids in need, but there are also in families with dire needs that need to be addressed. And so that's another focal point.
Well, I appreciate your taking the time to come on in here, give us a little glimpse as to what it might look like when we see you up there in January in the session. But of course, calling for that 38 in Studios Independent Commission. We'll be sure to put more information that folks can learn more about Representative-elect Jack Lyle. Be sure to tune in to Go Local, because we're going to take off from the studio here, head over to Providence City Hall, where they're having a special meeting to look to see if they have the votes to override Mayor Jorge Alorz's veto of the City Council's allowance of a variance for Jason Bain's tower on 195. But again, want to thank Representative-elect Jack Lyle for coming down here into the studio. And we'll be back tomorrow at 3 o'clock with Laura Afonso and Food. I'll be back at 4, but see you in just a few over at Providence City Hall. I'm Go Local News Editor Kate Nagel.